Okay, first thing, there's a whole lot of information here that really supports what I'm sharing with you guys. You're going to see some pretty confirming scriptures that are going to be very telling and make this job of mine to bring you guys the truth of what history the Bible actually really does have in it, and what this false Israel has really been hiding from all of us for all this time. You're really going to begin to see this. I want to call your attention here. Chapter 13 we're on in Ezekiel, verse 13. And we're going to be in chapter 13. We already read some of it here. That's the second cup, people. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, I will even rend it with a stormy wind in my fury, and there shall be an overflowing shower in mine anger, and great hailstones in my fury to consume it. The great hailstones is the second cup. It's going to be associated with meteors and or asteroids. And if you really read it diligently between the second trumpet and what the second cup is of Revelation 18, verse 21-22, you see that there are hailstones that precede, hail and fire mingled with blood. That comes first, and then we get that great mountain burning with fire. That's the second trumpet, aka even the second cup. So chapter 13 of verse 13 of Revelation is that fire that the Bible declares that he has the power to do in the sight of men, to perform this miracle. We're talking about the wicked. We're talking about who is the he. The he is Ephraim. It's really not any one specific man like many would have you believe. That it's being led by multitudes of men that are all united in one hive mind, one ideology under this Egyptian, English, Templar Knight Freemasonry. And it's really the English that are carrying this out, because it describes in Hosea that Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer. So the he is Ephraim. But Ephraim is symbolic of a multitude of nations. So when Revelation declares that it's this he, Revelation chapter 13, verse 13, that has the power to perform this miracle and bring the fire down in the sights of men, that's the second cup. And that he is this multitude of nations, Ephraim, who is not just one man. We can see that verse 13 is exactly that. Okay, the hailstones. Okay, here's what I want to show y'all guys. Check this out. Verse 18 is going to bring us forward and connect us to chapter 19 of Ezekiel. Now, chapter 19 of Ezekiel is all about this queen of heaven corrupting these young lions. In other words, these sons of God in the very ancient of times. And it describes her teaching them to be murderers and hunters of men. You have to understand that. So here is going to be the further story of these men of stature that are being further corrupted, and you're hearing more of the story of their efforts to hunt and destroy men. We're going to focus on two words here that's going to really reveal the amazing connection to the witch's hat. In that armband that we saw, which was that rosette on the hand of this Assyrian, in which you're going to see come up here, in the hand of this Assyrian mighty men, right there. Okay, let's take a look at first kerchiefs. That word right there, kerchiefs upon the head of every stature. Every stature? These mighty men were of great stature. That's who we're talking about. We're talking about these young lions of great stature. And you'll see that further as we look into Ezekiel chapter 19. And as we look up kerchiefs, this is what we get. And this is coming from the Strong's Concordance. If you were to look it up, it would be 3680. And here we have, it says, I'm going to let you read the top there. And then I'm going to focus right here. To cover, for clothing, or secrecy, clad, self, clothes, conceal, clothe, cover, self, flee to, hide, overwhelm. Clothing and or secrecy, or clothing that's associated with this secrecy here. So we got kerchief as associated with symbolic, secretive clothing. Okay. Now we go to this thesaurus, the Roget's Thesaurus. And I'm going to show you something here. It's going to be pretty interesting, and it's going to bring us to the witch's hat. And man, I had no idea that this was going to work out this way at all. But it has. Check this out. Kerchief, garment. So we look up 22526. Look at that 33 right beside there. It's kind of interesting. And here we go. Listen closely here. Now, I'm not going to try to say that, you have to see it this way. But once you hear the descriptions here of this kerchief, it really has everything to do with a headdress. More importantly, even a hat. Listen to the description of the hat, as you keep in mind, we've been originally talking about this witch's hat. Headdress, headgear, head clothes, head. Now, I'm not going to read all that, but as you can see the gist of it. Now look as it starts moving into words like top hat. Think about a top hat. A top hat is a long, tall hat, is it not? Are we not talking about a witch's hat as being a long, tall hat? Look at this description of a stovepipe hat. Is that a description of a witch's hat? I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it that deep, but it sounds like it. As even you're thinking about a top hat, now a stovepipe hat, I think it's the one that's the pointed, that little thing that you might see on the old-timey cartoons when the stove was piping. It had that pointy little thing on the top. I think that's what it's talking about. Then it says down here, crush hat. And then that's once again, one of those tall top hats. 10-gallon hat. Now that's an extremely tall hat. Sombrero. So, and then it goes on down. Sun hat. Well, wow, this is like to connect with this energy to bring about the sun, this fallen sun nonetheless. It would go on here a little further, but I think that you get the gist here, that this kerchief is not only clothing that's associated with secrecy, in which I originally described and told you that that's exactly what the symbolic witch's hat was all about. Was all about this secrecy, hiding the very source of the many waters of their power. In other words, the abysmal waters. It's just unreal. It's just unreal. So you can see that this is a very large hat, which is this kerchief that these ones are wearing that are actually hunting souls. So now we would have to look here and remember what the objective of the Anunnaki was to enter into the genetic stock of mankind via the daughters of man. To do what? They're in a sense collecting souls. They're trying to obscure souls even from finding their way. That way, that path to Jesus Christ. And these scriptures lead into a whole lot of whopping topics to cover, but keep it simple here. There's that hat. There's that kerchief of those that hunt souls. These ancient mighty men that you see are being described exactly right here. And make kerchiefs upon the head of every stature to hunt souls. And now we have to go to Ezekiel chapter 19 here. I mean, as I'm literally amazed as I'm doing this. I'm like seeing this in real time as y'all guys do. And that's something that y'all miss out when I have to do these videos so fast. You just don't understand how this is really coming here to me. Chapter 19 of Ezekiel, the same description of the same queen of heaven that is corrupting these lions. Listen to what she's saying here. Moreover, take thou up a lamentation for the princes of Israel, and say, what is thy mother? Well, their mother is the queen of heaven, Ishtar, a lioness. She lay down among the young lions. She nourished her whelps among young lions. Now, these young lions that she nourished her whelps among are the original sons of God that had not yet fallen. They had fallen to this occultic temptation, this plan of those that were higher than them, Lucifer and Satan. And this occultic knowledge, this feminine occultic knowledge, is what has made them fall. Well, that's known as Ishtar. It's the embodiment of the plan to bring about this fallen prince into a material form, like I said, the sex act. Well, here's what she's doing. And she brought up one of her whelps, and it became a young lion. And it learned to catch the prey. It devoured men. You see that? It's being taught to hunt men. Men are the prey. You see? The nations also heard of him, meaning this particular young lion. He was taken in their pit, and they brought him with chains unto the land of Egypt. Well, this begins to start entering into the symbolism of Samson, the 13th judge of Israel, who is aka one of these mighty men, who you also see gets taken in chains, aka cords, and also does enter into a pit. But what we see is that once this young lion fails at his mission, she produces a second. Now when she saw that she had waited and her hope was lost, then she took another of her whelps and made him a young lion. So she's taken these fallen sons of God from the young lions and producing them as the young lions again and saying, these are the good ones. And he went up and down among the lions, and he became a young lion and learned to catch the prey and devoured men. These are those with their kerchiefs on their heads, just as you see in our book here, this aka young lion. Now, I don't know if you remember, but it also says that this kerchief can be a helmet. Helmet. Kerchief. Helmet. Ah, man, you guys, it's incredible. So this is where we find out that they're being bound underneath the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, and that she has failed, at least in this description, 2 times to overthrow the dominion of man via these young lions, via these Danites connected to the story of this Samson, the 13th judge. It just does not get any further down the rabbit hole. I'll be back.